Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to give my review of the latest episode of She-Hulk. It was called Just Jen. And as it begins, we see Jen preparing to be a bridesmaid at a friend's wedding to her chihuahua, it seems. And she shows up at a pre-wedding party as She-Hulk, but her friend, the bride, is displeased at this, so she turns back into Jen. And it was funny because she made a little aside, a fourth wall break where she goes, like, I wasn't gonna, no, what does she say? She says, the one time where I felt like I had to show up as She-Hulk because, the whole time she's like, oh, I just want to be Jen. I'm Jen. I don't want to have to, I'm not She-Hulk. But at this occasion, she was like, oh, yeah, I'm showing up as She-Hulk because, she has great hair and a great body and everything. And she was going to be around other women. One she went to high school with, probably a couple others that she went to high school with. And she wanted to like show off. And in fact, that's how she approaches the venue when she arrives. It was kind of funny. And the bride's like, yeah, no, you need to stop that. You're detracting from me. So that happened. And then in the next scene, we see that Mr. Immortal, who I don't know is from the comics. I should have looked that up, but there's a character called Mr. Immortal who can't die, as the name would suggest. And he's getting a divorce. And apparently he keeps ending marriages by legally dying, by killing himself, but not actually dying. And when Nikki is aghast at this during a consultation, he jumps out a window, which is the scene from the trailer. It's kind of funny, actually. We flash back over to Jen, and now it's the wedding day, and Titania shows up as a +1, which, of course, doesn't sit well with Jen at all. And when she heads outside to cool off, she meets a guy. But her chat is interrupted when the bride asks her to fill in and help out when a lot of the staff quit because they don't like how they're being treated by her. Back to Mr. Immortal, he faces a cadre of his disgruntled exes at an arbitration meeting, and it turns out that he also created multiple identities. And it takes quite a bit of maneuvering to come up with a settlement that everybody's happy with. So not only did he kill himself to get out of the marriages, but every time he remarried, he came up with a different name. I guess that makes sense because you would have to, because the other name would already be on a marriage license if you're in the same state. But if you're just going to create a fake name, like, I don't know, I guess the killing himself was to get out of one marriage and the fake name was to get into another one. So he's a serial killer of himself and a serial marrier and a serial identity forger. But the lawyers didn't know this at first, and they learned it at the meeting, and it was kind of funny. They're like, wait, what, you fake ID'd yourself as well? So it was kind of funny. And the various complaints and stories that the exes had were very funny as well. Back at the wedding, Jen gets her drink on and dances like a total dancetron before once again meeting up with Josh, the guy from before, and having a very cute, buzzed conversation with him before horking, after which Titania sucker kicks her, sending her flying, and taunts her until she hulks out, though she has trouble doing it at first because, as she explains it, she forgot how to do it. At this point, of course, a wedding fight ensues, after which a defeated Titania leaves with the wedding cake before the bride comes in. And instead of being upset, which is what you think she's about to be, she's quite happy that She-Hulk is at her wedding, although her happiness may be tied to the fact that she was a little bit blitzed out of her mind, kind of. But it was still funny. After the settlement is reached and carried out between Mr. Immortal and his exes, Nikki and the other lawyer discover a website called Intelligentsia, where apparently people who want to, at minimum, cancel and at most kill She-Hulk post about it. Back at the wedding, which is wound down, Jen is sharing some fries with Josh, which is pretty cool. Before the episode ends, we see an evildoer of one kind or another making a set of needles to replace the one that failed to penetrate Jen's skin when she was attacked a couple of episodes back. And that's where the episode ends. There was no tag again this week, which is a bummer. But I thought this episode was very funny. I mean, like I said, this show found its humor a few episodes back, and it's still totally on track with that. It was very funny. I thought it was cool that she meets a cool guy because, I've been waiting for them to balance out some of the man-hating stuff that they did early on in the show and kept doing for the the first few episodes. And they kind of did that with the doctor guy that she met, but it turned out he was a little bit shallow because he didn't like Jen as much as he liked She-Hulk. But this guy is really into Jen, and they have chemistry, and he seems nice. So they're definitely getting around finally to putting in some guys that are decent and showing that not all guys are bad, and that's very cool. On the other side of that, what they did in this episode was they showed that, women can be jerks too, because the bride and all the other bridesmaids are these vapid, like selfish, self-consumed, if to say it another way, kind of ditzy women that keep, you know, behaving in ways that are ditzy and selfish and, you know, kind of unkind. And so it also paints women that way as it's been painting guys. So they're balancing it out, which is what I said from the beginning they were going to probably end up doing, and what I hoped they would do, and they're doing it. Is it completely equal? No, and I know that, but at least they're getting that stuff in there where they're showing, okay, yeah, girls can be jerks and goobers too. It's not just guys. So I thought that was cool. And of course, Tatiana Maslany looked super hot in the bridesmaid's dress, and I was totally down for that. It's always good to see a good-looking lady, and Tatiana Maslany is such a lady. So I was happy with that. But yeah, I thought this was a good episode. Funny, and it advanced the plot to a certain extent, because at the end we see that that person is still gunning for She-Hulk / Jen. And it would appear they're going to tie some of that in with the website, perhaps, because, why is this guy gunning for her? And is he involved with the website, or she involved with the website? And, of course, it had Titania in it. And so that whole story is still going. She's still pissed off at Jen. Jen, of course, kicked her ass. So now she's double pissed. She was pissed about losing the court case. Now she got her ass kicked. So she's pissed about that. So that whole thing is progressing. It's going to be interesting to see where that, goes before the season ends. But I'm going to get out of here. Before I do, I want to remind you about my Teespring store. You can get cool t-shirts and other merch on there that have the show logo and other designs on them. The link, of course, is in the description. I'll be back to renew the next episode of She-Hulk once it's released. Until then, I wish you peace and long life.